Welcome to the Spicerer's table. Today we're not sitting at the table. Today we're standing at the table because we're going to be looking at meatballs. We're going to be looking at a special meatball from the Emilia-Romagna region called Mondeghili. Mondeghili is a special meatball. It's made from meat. Here we have pork, which I will show you here. This is pork. And as you can see, and it could also be veal or beef or a mixture if you like. But the other important ingredient for this recipe, for this one we're going to be making Mondeghili di Salame. And this is an herb-coated salami. There are also recipes for Mondeghili di mortadella and recipes that you just use a mixture of cured meats. And what I have here is about 3 pounds of pork, and I have a pound. And this is pork shoulder meat. I just bought country spare ribs because it's easy to cut off the bone. And they come already in strips. And this is about a pound of salami. This is herb salami. So we have that set up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start making our panade. And we're going to take 4 thick slices of bread. And we're going to pour over some milk. Rid of that now, and we'll just press it down because this needs to be soaked. And we'll let that soak, and I'm going to go into my refrigerator here, and we're going to get our special ingredient, if I can find it here. And we're going to add a special ingredient to our meatballs today, and I have truffles. So we're going to do that last. Now we're going to start to build our panada here. Our panade, we're going to take the top off of our food processor. First thing, what I did was I cooked off a half of a medium onion, and I sauteed it, pretty much sweated it in extra tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil until it was soft, and it has been cooled off, and that's what we have here first. So we're going to scrape that into the food processor first. Along with the onion, we're going to add 2 cloves of garlic that I have just roughly chopped up so they'll easily blend in the processor. And then we're first going to give this a whirl in the processor. We're going to give it a couple of pulses. We'll start processing the onion. I'm going to take it off. Scrape the sides down here. Also going to add in here, this is a teaspoon of dried thyme. We're also at this point, we're going to put our freshly grated nutmeg. We're going to use a quarter of a nut's worth, probably a third of a nut. That's fine. We're going to put some freshly ground black pepper in here. And we're going to put some salt. And I'll put the pepper back here. We're going to put some salt, but because we're using salami, we don't need to be overly salty, so we just need enough. That should be fine. We'll put our salt here. We're also going to put in 2 tablespoons of extra dry vermouth or dry white wine. You could use either. Now we're going to continue to process this. Off. And now we'll give it a scrape down here, as you can see. It'll get a lot finer once we add the bread. What we're going to do next here, we're going to put the bread in here. Now you just want to take it, squeeze it out, and drop it in. And then once the bread is in here, I'm going to go wash my hands at the sink. And I'll get rid of this used milk here. Okay. You're just squeezing 90% of the water out. A little bit of milk is fine. So we've got the milk in there. The bread soaked in milk in there. I'll get rid of it. Come back and I'll wash my hands. You want clean hands when you're working in the kitchen. Especially we're working with raw meat, it's important. And now I'll come back behind the camera here. Give this a bit of a wipe. Okay. We're also going to add, at this point, we're going to put our 2 egg yolks in here. You just want the egg yolks because we're not using, if you put the whole eggs in here, the mixture will be too loose. So just put 2 whole egg, just two egg yolks. I use jumbo eggs, but you could use 2 or 3 large egg yolks and that would be fine. And then I'll now close this up and we'll process it the rest of the way. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to give it one last mix here. And that's good enough. So we're going to leave that set right there. Now we're going to talk meat grinder. What I have done here is the blades of this meat grinder I have put into the freezer just to chill them down. This is our plunger, which we're going to use to push the meat down through. We're also going to need this to hold our plunger. And I'm going to show you the magic secret here. This over here. I'm going to go grab the plastic wrap and I'm going to show you a magic secret. It's going to make grinding very easy. We're just going to take some plastic wrap here. I'm going to take some plastic wrap here. About this much should be fine. We'll cut it off. Okay. Now we're going to take and we're going to wrap the head of the grinder. And I have the small die set in the grinder here. I'm going to wrap the head of the grinder like so, so that when we start to grind this process of grinding the meat, what's going to happen is that the meat is just going to fall onto this and not splatter out everywhere. So we got our machine locked. We're going to turn it on moderate speed, and we're just going to alternate pork and salami through the grinder. Give it a good press, and I think it's ideal to have one hand free to plunge and one hand to be the wet hand. And if you're really worried about touching raw meat, you can always wear a pair of disposable gloves. So we'll just continue here. And for the pork shoulder, you want fatty pork shoulder here, because it's going to taste better. I'll put some salami in there. We'll put more pork in there. It's important that the speed of your grinder isn't too fast. You also won't be able to function properly. And if the grinder is too fast, you may get what's called a smear. A smear is where the fat starts to melt in behind the grinder plate and nothing goes through. So you just have to be careful. important to be really careful about it. If you're not careful and that smear happens, that's a hard thing to recover from because the meat got too hot because of friction. So we're just going to be careful here while we grind this up. In a future episode, I'm going to show you how to make the Mondeghili di Mortadella, which I'm famous for, which is made from half pork and half mortadella, which is both fed through the meat grinder just as this. I decided to try this one today because this one is easy to do. And the salami here, I bought a bag of salami ends and pieces. You can find the salami ends and pieces. That's your ideal salami. Because it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be all the ends. You just cut them up. It's very easy to do. So, put some more salami in here and just continue to grind. This whole process is going to be a 24-hour process. We're going to make this mixture, and then it's going to go into the refrigerator and it's going to sit for 24 hours, which will improve its flavor. Because that's important. You want the flavor to develop. And then in 24 hours, which will be tomorrow night, tomorrow evening actually, I'm going to show you how to form them, how to bake them, and how to simply sauce them just to serve, and we're just going to serve them as meatballs. I'm not making them with pasta, but they could definitely be served with pasta. And we're going to serve them in a light tomato, a salsa rosa, light tomato sauce. Simple marinara, which we will prepare for them. We're going to be baking these meatballs. If you like to fry them in a skillet or saute pan, that would be fine too. They technically don't need to be fully cooked when they're fried or baked, but it saves time if they become fully cooked. So. Now, at the bottom here, I'm going to continue to let the grinder go. And I'm going to go to the refrigerator and we're going to do our last little secret trick. While our grinder is grinding, I'm going to grab one more slice of bread. I'm going to take one slice of unsoaked bread. And this is to clean out the grinder. I'm going to put this one slice of bread through the grinder. And the bread will process through along with the last remaining bits of pork and salami. I'll turn the grinder up a little bit. Let's see. I can take this off now because it's just putting the bread that's coming through. Now we can shut this off. I'm going to slide this mixer out of the way now. And we're going to go back to our mixture here, which we are going to use our hands to mix this. Okay. It smells delicious. We're getting everything evenly distributed. And then we're going to add our mixture in here. These meatballs are going to be pretty well seasoned. So, we're going to pour our panade mixture in here. Scrape it out here. Allowing this to sit in the refrigerator for 24 hours, it will also allow the mixture to firm up, because it's important to have to have the meatball mixture be firm before we form and shape our meatballs. Just mix it up well. And if need be, the next day you could adjust with a little more breadcrumbs if you had to, if the mixture was too wet. I think by the time we are done with this, it's going to be good because they don't need to be super stiff mixture. A little bit soft is fine because they're going to bake up nice and then they'll be nice and delicate when you eat them. So that's pretty much it here. Now we're going to use this little jar here and scrape it out. The last little bit of our chopped truffles. It's about a tablespoon of chopped truffles. You don't need to have this. It's just going to perfume this recipe. If you don't like truffles, you don't have to put them in. If you like porcini mushroom, you could put some porcini mushroom powder in this. Would be lovely, or even some chopped dried porcini mushrooms. And you could put them in dry because they'll reconstitute while the mixture sits. And this is our beautiful mixture. It smells delicious. So this is our mixture. We're going to wrap it up, chill it down, and then leave it for 24 hours. And then tomorrow I'm going to show you how to scoop the meatballs and how to form them, because we're going to use our hands. It's the best way to do this. So I will see you then. I will see you in 24 hours and we'll continue on our Mondeghili journey. God damn it, I think it stopped already. Welcome back to the Spicerer's table. This is our Mondeghili mixture that's been sitting in the refrigerator. Like I told you when we mixed up the mixture, you can wear gloves. And we're going to do that now just because it's going to be safer for us. And we're going to do 1 pan of these. We're not going to technically probably use all, probably save some of the mixture. I also have a bowl of water here. This is for our hands. And if you like, you can use a spring-loaded disher to measure the amount of meatballs. It would just take the amount. So, and then you proceed to roll from there. But we're going to do this just with our hands because I think it's easiest. So you're going to take a mixture about like that. And we want golf ball sized. A little water in our hand here. And just give it a roll. And it's important here to get it nice and smooth, and just set it on the tray and just continue. You don't have to weigh out your mixture, so it's not important here to weigh your mixture out. You just need to get fairly even sized balls. And if you don't want to wear gloves, it's not required to wear the gloves. And just continue. Just cup your hands and then roll. And if it's too much, you take a little out. But you want to roll it enough so everything seals. You don't want to leave any crumbly bits. And we're just going to continue to do this. I'm going to take a little off of this one here just because we want them even. And then once they're all rolled and we have a tray full, we're going to bake them at 400 degrees. We're going to cook them, the temperature we're going to cook them to is 155 degrees, which will deem them completely fully cooked. Completely and fully cooked, and then we're going to be able to drop them in a simple marinara sauce, which we're going to make. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. And having them fully cooked makes things very easy because all we're going to have to do is, once they're fully cooked, is we're going to serve them. Once they're fully cooked, they just have to be heated with the sauce for 5 minutes just to meld everything together. So make sure when you start this process that you've turned your oven on preheat. And I'm going to continue filling all of these up. Here, and we'll just keep going. We'll come back when the tray is full, and I'll show you what they look like right before they go in the oven. Welcome back to the Spicerer's table. These are our meatballs. They're all formed. I have them on a parchment lined sheet, half-size sheet pan, which is the largest size that fits in a normal home oven. I do have a little of my mixture left. I'm going to save this. This will be frozen for a later date. These are going to slide now into a 300 and 400 degree oven that's been preheated. And we're going to bake them for half an hour. And once they're baked for half an hour, we're then going to slide them into a marinara sauce, which we will come back and show you how to make next. See you in a bit. Welcome back to the Spicerer's table. We're here at the stove now, and we're going to open up the oven here. And I'm just going to take a look at our meatballs here from Mondeghili. They smell wonderful. We still got 15 minutes to go on the cooking of them. Yeah, okay. They're doing all right. So we're going to let them cook. Now we're going to turn on our front burner here, and we're going to make our marinara sauce that we're going to serve them. The sauce is very easy to do. I have 2 quarts of tomato. I have that already measured out. And we're going to start with extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of olive oil in here. That should be fine for now. Slide the bottle out of the way here. And next we're going to put in our all-important ingredient here, which is 4 cloves of garlic that have been thinly sliced. It's important to put them in now while this oil is cold. So we'll slide that in there. Give this a stir here. And we're going to let this cook until it starts to sizzle. And when the garlic gets a nice, beautiful color on it, slightly golden, we will then proceed with the adding of the rest of the ingredients. This is an important step here, and this is going to ensure that we get the best flavor from the garlic itself. Now we're going to turn our heat down and let it cook. As you can see, it's starting to sizzle here, and that's what you want. And we're seeing a little bit of color here, which is beautiful. Okay. We're seeing a little color on our garlic. Just keep looking at it. I'm going to turn the heat back up because we're going to add our second round of ingredients here. And here we have Calabrian chili, about a scant tablespoon, and then a teaspoon of thyme. We're going to add both of these into the skillet. You don't need into the pot. You don't need a lot of Calabrian chili, just a little bit. Because it's important here that you don't make this sauce too spicy. Just give this a stir. It should go very quickly here, and then dump in 1/2 of a large onion. Along with our onion, we're going to add salt. Good pinch of salt here. I'm going to show you my little secret trick here. We've got everything in here now. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of water in here. 1, 2. Water in here is going to help soften our onions, and it will also prevent our onions from burning as they're softened. So we're going to let that go. The other ingredient we are going to use here is we're going to use some white wine, dry white wine. This is extra dry vermouth, but if you have dry white wine, that would be fine too. We're going to use about 1/2 of a cup. Just letting these onions cook. Once the water is gone and you hear a sizzle, that means your onions have cooked enough. And then we'll add the white wine, we'll let it cook down, and then we'll stir in our tomato. We've got 10 minutes left on our beautiful meatballs, Mondeghili. Just continue to stir. When these meatballs come out, we're going to check them for temperature, and they need to reach 155 degrees, which is the set temperature for ground meat mixtures and ground meat. We're not looking for medium or medium rare. We're looking for fully cooked. Technically, they don't have to be fully cooked to go into this sauce. If they go into the sauce when they're not fully cooked, they have to finish cooking in the sauce. It's easier to fully cook them before they go into the sauce, and then all you're doing is heating them with the sauce to marry the flavors. Water is almost gone here, as you can see here. You're going to hear a sizzle. Okay. Next, we're going to add our wine in here. We're going to wait just a moment until all the water is gone. This is the tool I like to use. It's made out of silicone. It's heat resistant. It's my favorite tool. I also have the same tool in wood, but it's my favorite tool. If you like a spoon here, that's your choice. It's the easiest piece of equipment. Now we'll dump in our wine. And we're going to reduce our wine down to 1/4 of a cup. The wine's going to add some acidity here. It's also going to enhance the flavor of our tomatoes. And I've taken from a number 10 can of tomatoes, because I want to make sure I have enough sauce to sauce these meatballs. This is a great dish to serve if you're doing a pasta dinner and serving different kinds of pastas, because you technically don't have to serve the meatballs with the pasta. They can be served as a separate dish, and then you don't have to worry about the meatballs having to be one of the pasta dishes themselves. So. Okay. Take a look here. Still pretty heavy on the wine, so we need to let it reduce. And once it reduces down, we'll add our tomatoes. And we're going to let this simmer for 15 minutes once we add our tomatoes. Doesn't need long cooking for this sauce. If you have your own favorite recipe for tomato sauce, you're more than welcome to use that here as well. This is the one I like because it's simple. And I'm not putting basil into this recipe here, but you could, if you wanted, put some basil or parsley. I'm letting the meatballs themselves shine through here, so we're not going to put any basil in this recipe. But you certainly could if you like. And if you don't like any sort of spice, you don't like any hot taste, then you can omit the Calabrian chili. Or just use a dash of pepper flakes, or just grind some black pepper in there towards the end of the recipe if you like. This is looking pretty good here. We're almost there. We're going to simmer this uncovered for 15 minutes. Now we're going to pour our tomatoes in there. Carefully. I'm actually going to pour against the spoon so that we can garner it. And I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to add just a little water, maybe a cup's worth of water into our, about a half cup's worth of water, just to rinse our container out. Get all the goodness out, and now we just need to bring this to a boil. Okay. I'm going to leave this chunky as it is, but this also could be blended. If you like, you could take an immersion blender and blend this if you like, but I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to give a little more salt to those tomatoes themselves. I'm not putting any sugar in here. That's very important. You don't need to. We're using canned crushed tomatoes. If you like to crush your own tomatoes, you can buy the whole peeled plum tomatoes, or even get the San Marzano tomatoes if you want to spend the money on it. Okay. We're just going to let this cook. And I'm going to grab some pot holders so we can take a look at our meatballs. Prepare here. Open up our oven and we'll take a look here. I know that they are now done. But to be sure, take an instant read thermometer or old school manual thermometer, and you want them to be 155 degrees. These are beautiful, and they're completely set. That's how I know that they are finished. So we're going to leave those there. I'm going to let our sauce cook here. And we'll come back. I'm going to turn the oven off now. We're going to reset the timer for 15 minutes. And we're going to let this sauce cook. I am going to taste it for seasoning. And we'll make sure that it's got enough seasoning. Okay. I'm going to add just a little more salt. You don't need to put too much salt because we are going to put the meatballs in here. We're also not putting oregano or bay leaf into this recipe. Just the thyme is enough herb to suffice. Okay. Now we'll let that cook. In 14 minutes, we'll come back and we'll check it out. Welcome back to the Spicerer's table, and we're taking a look at our running out of sauce for our Mondeghili. I have switched to this ladle because it's going to be easy for serving. because we're about to put our meatballs into our beautiful sauce here. The last thing we're going to do here is I'm going to take a little raw olive oil. Just add a little raw oil, about a tablespoon or so for the freshness into the sauce, and just give it a little stir. Okay. I've brought out my slotted fish spatula here because that's going to be the easiest way to get these carefully into the sauce. Just remove them carefully. Do not scratch the paper, the parchment itself. You want to be careful that you're not causing the parchment to rip, because you don't want to get any bits of parchment paper in this recipe. Just keep moving them in. And then what I'm going to do here is turn my timer for 5 more minutes just to finish it all off. Pretty easy here. And after those 5 minutes are up, we're going to move the camera down to the other end, and I'm going to just ladle them out for you in a serving vessel to serve. If you would like to serve these with pasta, this would be great with spaghetti. Pretty much any pasta would work, but spaghetti would be ideal here. Or even a short macaroni like penne or cavatappi would be nice too. We're not going to put any of this juice in here because this juice is very fatty and we don't need that flavoring. Baking these is the ideal, but you could cook them on the stove in a skillet. They just take a lot longer to cook. So that's why I like to do it this way. Grab our spoon here. And you just want to be really careful now that you don't break them, because we've had all this time to make these beautiful balls. And we don't want to break them. So just keep giving them the toss here. Okay. Now we're going to just let it finish heating. About 3 minutes. And we'll bring it over here and we'll plate them up. Minutes and then we'll be done. Being that the meatballs were hot out of the oven, they only need 5 minutes just to marry into the sauce. And as they sit in the serving dish, they will continue to help flavor the sauce. We're not going to garnish this with any cheese, but if you like a little Parmesan cheese, you can garnish with cheese. I like to let the meatballs show off themselves rather than adding any extra flavors in it. That's also why I don't put any Parmesan cheese into the meatball mixture, because we're using the salame as one of the ingredients. Or other cured meat, you really don't need that Parmesan cheese. If you're making the classic Italian-American meatball, that's equal parts veal, pork, beef, that's when you can put Parmesan cheese in there along with your panade mixture. It can be ground in there or stirred in at the end if you so desire. For these Mondeghili, we're not putting any cheese. Okay. I'm going to shut the timer off at this point and shut the burner off. I think done. I'm going to slide my camera down And we'll come right here. Excellent. And now I'm going to grab our pan, make sure it is hot, so be really careful here. Excellent. Just make sure that you know that the pan is hot. Just take them. And I'm just using this beautiful oval dish here. If you have extra sauce left over after you've served all your meatballs, it's perfect to sauce pasta as a secondary meal made from leftovers. You could even, if you had a couple meatballs, they could be broken up. And it could become an impromptu weeknight quick meat sauce. Make sure you want to make sure you put enough sauce in here. We'll probably have a little extra sauce. Yeah, we're going to have just a little extra sauce here. Okay. I'm actually going to put all of these in here now. Okay, that should be fine. And that is our beautiful Mondeghili di Salame. Ooh, let me get that in the shot here so we can see it beautifully there. It's beautiful stuff. It's delicious. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned soon. And we're going to delve into Japanese and Hungarian cuisines. Stay tuned for that. Enjoy cooking for yourself. Enjoy cooking for others. Peace out and keep it real.